What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Hardwood Convos podcast here on the 515 Podcast Network. I am Brock Bierman. Oh, already struggling. It's going to be a great episode, that means. I'm Brock Bierman alongside, as always, Hunter Rose and Dawson Livingston, here to give you another hour or so of NBA basketball talk. We have some headline-worthy moves, but I don't know how big of actual moves they are when you look at it of what each team that we're going to end up talking about is going to benefit from these moves. But, you know, they're still noteworthy, and we're going to talk about them, obviously, because we love talking some NBA hoops. And honestly, half the time we ended up, sidetracked talking about whatever. But Hunter Rose, Dawson, Livingston, how are we doing, fellas? Dawson, I know you were off last week, so we'll start with you. How you feeling?
I'm doing okay. We're kind of at the dead point in like most sports. I mean, really just baseball's on right now, and as a Royals fan, that is rough. I think they're currently getting their butts kicked by the Cubs right now, so that's not fun. Yeah, they're down 6-0. But yeah, other than that, doing good.
I know Hunter's loving baseball right now.
Yeah, baseball's great. Shout out the Royals yesterday at least. Power of friendship. Best team in the MLB. Come on. All right, can we just get a round of applause there? Other than that, doing all right. Keeping busy. Looking at nothing burgers half the time. I'll get like a Twitter notification or X notification. I'll be like, oh my gosh, like what just happened? Like did Quentin Grimes or like Kuminga like finally do something? And it's like, oh, Blake Wesley has signed a 1-year contract. I'm like, oh, okay. But
if I get another notification about the Lakers cutting someone, I swear to God.
Yeah, they've been making moves. But we'll get into it. But there's been a handful of moves. I'm like, oh, okay, like that's cool or that's interesting. So we'll get there when we get there. But that's been at least kind of fun and entertaining to keep up on. So.
Yeah, I mean, most of our talk today is probably going to revolve around the West Coast, really, in terms of the big moves that have happened recently. We can either start in California or Portland. I'll let you guys decide which one we talk about first.
Man, we've been talking a bunch of Clippers. Let's talk about the Blazers for a little bit.
Okay. Well, as Hunter is making the movement of legendary Blazers point guard Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard is on his way back to Portland.
What a man.
I'm just dying to hear Hunter's thoughts on this. And I mean, honestly, it's an interesting conversation because Hunter, literally last week, I talked with you about the difference between wanting to win or wanting to have a career to make money. And this move just kind of feels weird to me because, like, I thought the move to get Damian Lillard out of Portland was hopefully to get him in contention to possibly win a championship before he retires. And now he's on his way back for 3 years.
Don't disrespect future Jokic, Chinese Jokic, and then former Rookie of the Year Scoot Henderson. Okay.
No. I'm not hating the move. I think it was a 3-year, $42 million deal, right?
Yeah.
For Damian Lillard and the Blazers. But no, I swear to God, no one saw this coming. Or am I blind?
I think it was a surprise. I don't want to say nobody saw it coming because, like, it's no secret. Like, even during his time in Milwaukee, it was no secret that, like, he missed Portland. And just with some stuff going on, I know, like, within his personal life, I know, like, one of the things he commented on, like, very shortly after joining Milwaukee was that it was, like, really, really hard to be away from family and things like that, and, like, his kids, for example. And so I wouldn't say it was out of nowhere, but it wasn't that it wasn't surprising, though. I definitely thought he was going to go to a contender and then, sign 2 years from now would be the 1-year, $14 million deal with Portland. So I guess, yeah, the 3-year part was a little surprising, even though I'm sure he'll be able to play and contribute still, even post injury, at least a little bit. But I think that's probably what was more surprising. But him going back, I was like, oh, like I was just happy. Honestly, I'm happy he's back in Portland. They've since I've always been kind of like a big fan of Dame pre him joining the Bucks, like the Trailblazers were kind of like a West Coast team to cheer for. Now I'm happy I can just continue to do it. And hey, at the end of the day, they traded Damian Lillard for Drew Holiday, some picks, and Damian Lillard. So who's the real loser here, right? It's not Milwaukee ESPN. Okay, let's get that out of our head already.
I mean, I don't know one person that hates Damian Lillard, and the reception from this move was like, oh, it's so great to see that he's going back. And I feel like, I don't know, I had a weird vibe with him playing in Milwaukee. It just didn't feel right seeing Damian Lillard play for a different team, because he really did love Portland. If I remember right, it wasn't that he was like requesting a trade out of Portland in the first place. It was one of those where it's like, if he would to get traded, these were the teams that he was interested in, and Portland decided to pull the trigger because they wanted to completely rebuild, it sounded like. So I guess when I think about that, because I completely forgot about that. When this first came out, I was shocked. And then you see all that stuff of like, Damian didn't necessarily he never said point blank that I want out of Portland. So it makes more sense of why he came back to the Blazers. And I know I said well, does he want to win a title, all that stuff. And I'm not saying that Portland can't all of a sudden just turn it around and win a title, have a run of a lifetime, but it's going to be hard in the Western Conference. So, but Dawson, what are your thoughts on this move? I will say, if there is one benefit from this potentially for the future of Portland, it is the fact that former Rookie of the Year contender Scoot Henderson now has a guy to learn under for a couple of seasons.
Never sold my Scoot Henderson stock. I've been holding it. It's been a penny stock for the last 2 years, but you know what? It's boom season. It's going to the moon. If you don't think that Dame and even Drew Holiday, or assuming Holiday stays with the Blazers, I don't know what's going on in the next few months, but assuming they both stay, the impact it's going to have on those young guys in the locker room is going to be so huge on a guy like Scoot Henderson, guy like Shaden Sharp, all those young guys in the locker room, because there's a difference between wanting to be bad and then wanting to continue to get better. You got to have veterans in the locker room that can teach the young guys how to do it. Have Scoot Henderson kind of ride Damian Lillard's coattails for the next year while he's rehabbing. Maybe Scoot will develop a jumper. He was better last year than his rookie year, obviously, but still, for being the third overall pick, we don't really ever talk about him. We really talk about Wemby and Brandon Miller and even some of the guys drafted behind him. But it's just a great story. Homecoming. I like you guys said, he never really wanted to leave Portland in the first place, but Portland kind of just wanted to get away from the Damian Lillard business, and now 2 years later they're back in, and it just feels like a match made in heaven. And it kind of feels like, not quite, this move feels bigger of a homecoming than the next move we'll talk about in a little bit, but I love this move still.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, obviously Portland has had some really good stars. They've won a championship, all that stuff, but I don't know if there's a player more that encapsulates being a Blazer for life more than Damian Lillard, just with the moments that he's made and the impact that he's had on that franchise. Because that franchise, when he was kind of drafted, just went through kind of a big explosion of okay, we had a great power forward, which he was great when he was with Lillard too, and LaMarcus Aldridge, one of the more underrated guys in terms of what he was able to do in the era that he played in. But you also had Greg Oden, who had an injury history galore, and that wasn't even the only person on that roster. Brandon Roy, who, depending on who you talk to, is one of the biggest what ifs in history in the NBA in terms of injuries and all that. Lillard has been through so much with the Blazers, but he has made so many moments too. He has ended some runs, ended some ended some prime careers, honestly. Paul George, I don't think ever recovered from that game winner in the playoffs, really. If you really look at it, because wasn't that the year Paul George was third in MVP voting or something like that? And after that, it was not necessarily ever the same. I don't think we ever saw the same Paul George. We all know that we all remember the atrocity that was the Paul George bubble run that he had. So Damian Lillard has an effect of just destroying teams, players, anyone that he's playing. So the fact that he's going to be back on that team that he made a lot of those memories with, it's going to be fun. And he's going to be like 36 or so when he probably steps foot on the court. So who knows? This is probably his last contract for sure. The Achilles tear doesn't make me think he's going to play much longer. Hopefully he can make some more memories. I did want to ask you guys, do you think that, because again, the Achilles tear is such a questionable, like you can't really guess what this team is potentially going to do based off of someone who tore their Achilles, because it's such a just a terrible injury to have. But do you think things would have changed? Like, where do you see this team going? Do you think DeAndre Ayton potentially would have even considered coming back or anything with this, or do you think he was still going to be out either way?
He seemed kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So I think at this point, I think DeAndre Ayton's just after some money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's all I think about it at this point. So
they don't even need him. They have the Chinese Jokic on their bench now.
Exactly,
that is true.
So,
I mean, we all love Damian Lillard. Probably everybody else in the NBA loves him except for Paul George. Maybe James Harden, because that game winner against the Rockets is still one of the most legendary shots as well. Good Lord, this man, like Damian Lillard has just a huge history of highlights of just destroying star players single-handedly, and how big of an impact he's had on the Blazers. People need to remember a lot of people were considering taking Portland against the Lakers in the bubble playoffs when the Lakers won it.
It's crazy.
Which is because it was a 1-8 seed matchup, which granted we have seen 8 seeds win before in the playoffs, but like this was against LeBron and people were taking Portland, which is just unbelievable. That just shows you how good Damian Lillard was in his prime. And granted, he had some good supporting cast, but they never were like an elite team. So we'll see what this final run for Damian Lillard will be like for the Blazers. Not the only homecoming, though, in terms of what people consider a homecoming, I guess, in the NBA. Going over to LA, we'll actually end up talking about 2 LA teams here. This one's going to be short because we've talked about this Clippers team a bunch recently, but they make another move and they bring home Chris Paul, who was a part of the Lob City era. Everybody probably, no, I don't even think there's an argument. The greatest era for Clippers basketball. I know that you maybe could make an argument for this last couple years with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, but I don't know if there's a huge argument outside of. No, I'm not going to even make propose an argument on that. Chris Paul heads back to LA. I think I just saw something that he is getting his. He's going to be wearing number 3, and Beal's potentially going to be wearing 0 or something like that. I don't know what Beal said his number is going to be. What are your guys' thoughts on this? Hunter, I know you've been high, and I mentioned this last week as well. You've been high on the Clippers and their moves that they've been making this offseason. Does this make them even more dangerous, or is this just another good asset to have because you have that another veteran leader on your roster in Chris Paul?
Yeah. I don't even know. I don't think I'd go even as far as to call it an asset, because it's like this is just like a little final tour, to be honest. Like this is it after this. So I don't know. Honestly, I don't really have many thoughts on it, which probably probably shows where I kind of stand on it. I don't think it's a bad move by any means, but I think, for what it is, I really like it because, one, obviously I've been high on this Clippers team, but 2, little fun fact about Hunter, at least growing up. And I've talked about this before, but like Chris Paul's been like my favorite player for a super long time. Not really as much anymore, and he kind of pisses me off a lot sometimes. But especially like for me growing up, like I loved Chris Paul, favorite player in the league, and like I loved. I when I first started watching basketball, he's on the Hornets, and then when I really started getting into basketball, I was actually a Clippers fan because that's when the Lob City era was there, and he was so fun to watch. And so in that way, I really like the move because it's fun to see. I'll actually probably cheer for him some more again. I didn't hate him on the Spurs this past year by any means, but especially like when he's in Phoenix and even in Houston, he kind of bugged me. But getting back to actual basketball now, I don't know how much he really brings that they don't already have, to be honest. I don't think he's the worst defender in the world. But especially as the NBA is still moving in this trajectory of athleticism and being able to get up and down the floor and a lot of 3-point shooting. It's like, it's not that he can't do those things, but I don't know if he puts them at a different level, especially when, maybe like James Harden or Beal's on the bench. So, yeah, I don't really have a whole lot, to be honest, on how he can improve the team, but I don't think he makes it any worse by any means. So.
I mean, he's going to be the 9th or 10th guy on the roster. So it's hard to like critique a move like this. And it's cool that he's going back to Lob City. I mean, that's where like his like name and brand really like took off. Like he was a great player in New Orleans, but like for me anyway, when I think Chris Paul, I think of him throwing lobs to Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan, just up and down the court. Like that whole 2012 Clippers to 2016, like that was always a super fun time to watch the Chris Paul and the boys play. But it's his last go around. He's already admitted that. I'm glad he signed with the Clippers. I know his other rumored team was like going back to the Suns, which would have been terrible. I would have hated that for Chris, because at least the Clippers will be in the playoffs, and maybe Chris Paul can help prevent the James Harden playoff fall off, if that makes sense. Because Harden has these tendencies in every playoff series to just have these games where he has 8-9 turnovers. But again, he's going to be the 9th or 10th guy in the lineup. It's a cool story. Unfortunately, though, I don't think the Clippers really do much in this upcoming season. They might finish as the 5 or 6 seed, might win a round, but I think their ceiling for me is a round 2 team. So.
Mr. Bierman, you might be muted. Now we can't hear you.
Sorry. Then never mind. Don't worry about how I was going to talk about how I actually think the Clippers are kind of trying to take a route of like not necessarily getting all these star players, but just trying to put enough pieces together that builds a team that can compete. I know they have to go through the Western Conference, which is so difficult to do. And these guys are really old in terms of like average age for a team to win a championship. But like, it would be one of those where it's like, I think I would take them still over teams that only have like, 1 or 2 star players. And that's pretty much it in the Western Conference now, just because I think they don't have to worry about relying on one person anymore, which is a good thing. But, do I see them being like legit title contenders? I don't know if they're definitely not my first pick. I don't think they would be my second pick. Probably not even my third pick in the West, but maybe my fourth pick, if borderline third pick at like their ceiling, similar to what you said, Dawson. But like, I feel like this is a make or break year for LA, the Clippers, and we've talked about it a little bit, is that their run with Kawhi Leonard is going to come to an end sooner rather than later at this point. And so like, I feel like these moves that they have been making is that last ditch effort for them. And if this doesn't work this year, I think they may end up exploding their roster and just completely starting over. And maybe I'm reading in too deep on the moves that they've been making.
Dude, if this team was in 2017 or 2018,
best team ever.
Imagine this team.
Oh my goodness!
Imagine this team against the Warriors with Durant and all them. Oh, that'd be some legendary
Sign me up for
matchups.
that playoff series. Sign me up. But
Crazy.
We'll
the
see.
Los
We'll see if
Angeles
they do
geriatrics are just not going to do much next
the
year.
Los
in my
Angeles
opinion.
geriatrics.
I mean,
That's a good one. Speaking of Los Angeles, the Lakers also made a move. I don't know if
Best
we're
homecoming ever. For
I was
sure.
gonna say I don't know if we're talking about this as in like I don't know how many actual podcasts, media groups, or anything are actually talking a lot about this, but I think there's a reason that Hunter and Dawson wanted me to mention this. But apparently, this guy named Marcus Smart is on his way to go play for the Lakers and LeBron James. Which, if you know me, I think Marcus Smart is one of the worst players in the world. All he does is flop. He's just so annoying to watch. I cannot stand him. Haven't liked him since he played at Oklahoma State. I just,
Okay.
when he pushed the
Okay.
fan.
yeah. I forgot about that. I think the fan like self-banned himself. He had a 2-game suspension too or something like that. That was the oh my gosh. No, Marcus Smart is, if anyone actually knows me, one of my favorite players of all time, just because he was that a-hole that you hated to play against. But if he was on your team when he was in his prime, you'd love to have him because he just would find a way to upset your opponent in one way or another, whether it was the few games where he couldn't miss from 3, because it seemed like he had a couple of those in the playoffs and a couple of their runs, or if it was his defense. I mean, we're just talking about the Clippers. I will never forget him somehow causing James Harden to create a couple offensive fouls that resulted in Boston being able to come back against the Rockets. I don't even know how many years ago that was. And so what are your guys' thoughts? Is this I think it is a good move for LA. They get a good perimeter defender, assuming that he's going to get some playing time. I mean, if you're going to give him the money that they're going to give him, you probably should give him some minutes. And but does this move the needle at all in terms of where you guys think the Lakers are going to be? Because Marcus Smart is another one of those players that similar to Grant Williams and Al Horford, when they're not in Boston, for some reason they're like useless. And I'm not trying to like be like, oh, that's because Boston knows how to, use players to the best of their ability. It's just because they worked well under what Boston was building in their system. Not every team has the same system. Al Horford, we all saw what happened when he went to Philadelphia and then Oklahoma City. We saw what happened to Grant. Well, I don't even know where Grant Williams is now. But Marcus Smart didn't necessarily have a good run with the Grizzlies. Ended up in Washington, now in LA. Do you guys think he could get back to that Marcus Smart that I guess I knew and love, you guys knew and hated?
Hunter, do you want to go first on this, or do you want me to take this one off?
You got it. You got it.
All right. It's a meh move for me. It doesn't. I'm not like. I don't hate the move because it's not like a whole bunch of money, but we're talking about a guy who's a below 40% field goal shooter for his career, and since leaving Boston has played in a grand total of 54 games. So, granted, I won't even really count his Wizards tenure because I don't think the Wizards were trying to win basketball games last year. They were trying to tank for a top pick, but it will help them on the defensive end. Marcus Smart's never been like Brock said, he's a very streaky 3-point shooter. He's a career 32% 3-point shooter. So he'll make them if he's open. He might make a couple on like a crazy night, but he's known for his defense. I believe his defense has taken a step back since he won the Defensive Player of the Year 3 or 4 years ago. But I don't think it's a terrible move for the Lakers just because of the sole fact it's 2 years, like 11 million or 10 million. So I don't think that's ever a bad deal for a player of Marcus Smart's caliber. But I just don't think that really moves the needle for the Lakers, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm kind of behind. I'm with Dawson on this one. I think the biggest thing is it definitely helps the Lakers at their guard depth because outside of Luka and then Austin Reeves, it's kind of nobody. So good move there. Obviously, kind of had to get rid of a couple. I think a couple of guys. They had to waive a few to get him and to make some room for probably the money as well. But yeah, I think it'll help a little bit there defensively on the guard position. I know I mentioned that the Lakers are going to for sure be a bottom 10 defense. Do I think Marcus Smart elevates them above that? Probably not, personally. Maybe some of us here are still a little hurt that he could have possibly won the Defensive Player of the Year a few years ago and not a different guard who could have won it that I believe is far superior on defense. But that's just me. No, actually, that's not just me. It could be anybody here.
Not me.
Yeah, but yeah, I think the thing I am a little concerned about, and maybe with age this will help, but I think Marcus Smart is seemingly also kind of known for some terrible shot selection at times and just like ego shots when you have other star players on the team who probably should be shooting the ball in certain moments. And so when you have LeBron and Luka on the same basketball team, if there's even one time that he does this, La GM's gonna step in
he's gonna get traded so quickly.
He will get traded immediately. So hopefully that doesn't happen.
I hope it does. I want to see it.
Brock wants to see it, but hopefully for his own sake, it does.
I want to see what would happen if he did that against on a team with LeBron.
Yeah, that would be something. And I think with the rest of the team, there just should be some moments where it's like, dude, you can't. Like if he's wide open in the corner,
yeah,
by all means, go for it. But like
he should be averaging at most 6 points a game.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's where I would end up with this move as well.
I don't know I can't get a read on what I think the Lakers are going to be like next year. It just seems like they're trying to throw whatever together, and I mean they've gotten some okay players. It's just that I don't see the vision in terms of how this team is going to look on the court, I guess.
Yeah. I think maybe one of the biggest detriments that actually ended up happening to this Lakers team is actually getting the 3 seed this past year. Because a lot of times, like when a team finishes so well, it's like, oh, like, we don't need to make that many moves. Like we just need to make a couple of moves to move us this far ahead. But when the 2 teams ahead of you, one of them won an NBA championship and the other one just got one of the best scorers in league history. Yep. This is not enough. This is not enough when the rest of the West is like all besides probably the Warriors. And that's it, to be honest, for teams that either were in the playoffs or were in the play-in. Besides the Warriors, all of them are young. Well, and I'm not counting the Kings. We're just going to omit them from this. But like all the other teams, let me get there. All the other teams either got better by a substantial amount or are young enough where the guys on their roster can improve much, much more.
Okay.
And so when it's just kind of like, dude, like I get that we've talked about this a lot. LeBron's kind of put them in a pretty tricky situation, but it's like, how are you not trying to do at least a little bit more to get some people? It's like your big moves are getting DeAndre Ayton, who maybe doesn't even want to play basketball at this point, and Marcus Smart.
Marcus Smart likes playing basketball.
Thank goodness. But that's not enough this is not the Brewers. I would argue they don't even have the power of friendship at this point. Okay. There's no it's like they're just tanking themselves.
I think Marcus Smart is taking an extra paycheck from Brad Stevens right now and was just told to go terrorize LeBron.
There we go. Yeah, so I think that's why I have a difficult time like trying like when I go through my head and I'm like, okay, this like way too early, like top 5 in each conference. Like I'm not even thinking about the Lakers, but it's like they have Luka and LeBron, so why am I not thinking about the Lakers? Just because the rest of their team is just so confusing on like how they can possibly compete at a high level.
Yeah. Real quick, I didn't mention this during the Damian Lillard talk, but we talked about when we did our like franchises that we're investing in and franchises we're not investing in. I mentioned one thing about Boston and why I did not pick them in terms of a franchise I was investing in. And it was because of I wanted to see what this Damian Lillard saga of free agency would end up doing, because I would have invested in Boston if he would have signed with them. I wouldn't have invested it in Boston if he would have signed anywhere else. And he did sign somewhere else. And I mean, right now, I've been reading some stuff, and it doesn't even look like Boston necessarily knows what they want to do now, because it seems like Simons is on the trade block now after being traded from Portland to Boston not so long ago because they weren't able to get Lillard. So now I think Boston feels a little desperate to get someone else maybe involved, whether it's a trade or whatever. So that was one thing I forgot to mention when we were talking about the Lillard signing to Portland and the impact it may have on the NBA. But those were really the 3 main like headlines, I guess, in the last.
We're forgetting one huge headline that happened Sunday. The Hornets won their first trophy
Huge.
ever.
Shout out Colin
Ever.
Cowell.
Like, first anything.
The drought is
championship.
over. The drought is over.
We have to
A
recognize
new
Charlotte Hornets
era
when we
has
can.
begun.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that. I guess credit to them. Good.
Let's go.
Good for the Hornets. I mean, the only thing that I will remember from Summer League is this.
Dude,
That is the only thing I will
Oh my
remember
gosh.
from Summer League.
No way.
That dunk that Furphy had was already brutal. Not to mention that a photo of said dunk would be captured, and it wasn't just any other photo. It was a photo of a player, who was just drafted, right?
He was the 11th or 12th overall pick.
I'm trying to find him on Chicago's website.
Man.
Shoot, where's he at? Oh, he doesn't have an. Is that guy from
France.
Yeah, is it Noah? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
I believe
Okay.
so.
Buddy just gets drafted on the 11th overall pick.
He like played well during the summer league, like in like overall too. That's the worst part.
His career's over.
Well, his career was already over when he got selected by Chicago, but yeah, now his career's definitely over.
I swear, the first game he plays in, clip it right now. First game he plays in. Who do they have the schedule out for next year? I'm assuming they don't.
They don't.
Whoever Chicago plays first game of the year, he's gonna get postered too. It's just gonna happen, and he's gonna be that guy.
Is he gonna be the Brandon Knight of this era?
He's gonna
forever be the unlucky man.
But the thing is he's tall.
Yeah.
And he also has this image that's going to haunt him. So he's not going to he's going to take Brandon Knight's career and elevate it to another level, because there's going to just be multiple images like this. I feel like he's just going to be like, well, if I'm going to get dunked on, I might as well become a meme while I'm at it. Which also makes me think when these posters happen, how many images have been missed, or like moments like this have been missed just because, it's so hard to capture it when it's going at normal speed. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, this guy's going to poster someone. I guarantee you there are so many more memeable posters that could have happened similar to this that just never got captured because of how quickly they go. But prayers for Noah, I guess.
Yeah. Tough to see.
Can't believe you wanted to skip over Charlotte Hornets history.
Oh, gosh.
I mean,
can't believe it.
Shut up.
It makes me sick to my stomach.
Do you guys want to do the worst decisions of every team in the past 5 years or the Bleacher Top 100? Because I think we're going to only do one episode this week, so whatever one we don't do this week, we can do next week.
I feel like we should save the Bleacher Report
Okay.
its own episode.
We'll save that one.
If you're good with that.
Okay.
I feel like that one just deserves its own briefing and stuff like that.
Sweet. So the NBA, ESPN released every team's worst move, or I guess roster mistake, since 2020. They went through and they ranked them, from 30 all the way down to 1. Obviously, we'll just get number 1 out of the way. Number 1 was Luka Doncic getting traded from Dallas. Whoa! And, Anthony Davis going to Dallas, all that stuff. But there were some, teams that you're like, oh, I mean, not much happened, Cavaliers declining Hartenstein's qualifying offer in 2021. I mean, yeah, he was a good player, but like,
I am curious, Dawson, would you say this has been Cleveland's biggest mistake? Like, what would you say has been Cleveland's biggest mistake since 20? Because, like,
no,
to be honest, like, I had a hard time. Like, that's why when I saw this, I had a hard time, like, thinking of one that they made. But I'm like, there's no way this is the biggest mistake they could have possibly made.
Trading,
or that's insane. True, that's a good point. That should actually be.
that
should be number 1.
That's shit. Yeah. Cavs trading Niang, number 1. The winningest player in the NBA.
The one that instantly comes to mind is them drafting Okoro over literally anyone else in that 2020 draft.
Yeah.
But I give them a pass because no one knew what they were doing in the 2020 draft when it came to drafting. So
yeah. Because the other thing too is like they traded it, so like they got something out of him. Like if I feel like if he was still on the roster, I could be like, okay, maybe that's it. But especially when they traded it, because I was like, that's like the only thing that came to my mind. But I wasn't sure there was something else that like I just didn't even remember anything or something that's a bigger deal.
I'm trying to think.
I don't really think this was that bad of a deal though, because it's like I
mean, it is number 30. Yeah. But like I feel like there's
which I mean, shout out Cleveland. Shout out Cleveland for not
up.
having any issues.
Yeah. They signed like JaVale McGee right after he had won the title, and then immediately flipped him for Hartenstein within like a month of the season. And iHeart played well, but Cleveland at that point just traded for Jared Allen. They had Kevin Love, and they were getting ready to draft Evan Mobley. So it didn't make sense to bring iHeart back whatsoever. So but
there was just,
honestly I can't think of any other for Cleveland, other than maybe Okoro. But again, I don't even count anyone for the 2020 draft just because COVID was such an anomaly in NBA history that we're going to look back in 20 years and be like, huh? Who got drafted?
I mean, you traded the winningest player in the NBA, but
it's a big deal. Big deal.
But, honestly, the first half of this list is just like, whatever. Indiana, their biggest mistake was hiring the coach that they had before, Rick Carlisle, which, I mean, you ended up getting Rick Carlisle as your head coach. Like, you're fine. Then you get to the Knicks signing Evan Fournier, 4 years, $73 million. That's not a good move. I can't say anything about teams making bad decisions and giving Evan Fournier money. So, but at least we didn't give him that much.
I would say the Knicks' biggest mistake is giving up on Toppin too fast. Because they had Obi Toppin on that team, and he was a playoff contributor for him.
Yeah.
But Tom Thibodeau just hated that man and just stuck him in the corner and told him to do dunks every once in a while.
Yeah, that one, I think, in terms of like impact of like the actual team, that probably should be the one over Fournier. I think the reason that they put Fournier was because he didn't even finish his contract. I think they ended up just giving him his money. Portland was re-signing Jeremy Grant, which I mean, at the
that's
time,
gotta be a big deal.
At the time, it was like a big deal.
Yeah,
like that was a good like re-signing for Portland.
That's a big number though. For
$106 million for 5 years. Yeah.
He shot 37% last year. There's no way.
He fell off pretty hard.
Dude, remember he was a hot commodity at one point in the NBA.
Before, yeah, because he was the Nugs, because he was he's kind of everywhere. He's been good because he was like the Aaron Gordon before Aaron Gordon for the Nuggets, and then they were like, okay, how do we take this next step? And they ended up getting rid of him, which people were like, oh, like, okay, that's interesting. Like, okay, so go off. I
guess.
He's
actually been around. I didn't realize how many teams he's played for.
Philly, OKC, Denver, Detroit, Portland.
I remember his Detroit years were like really good. Those were fun to watch. Utah's was not trading Marketing, which I completely agree, because now he is not necessarily at all worth what he was back in 23-24.
Yeah, for sure.
So so a lot of these were like obvious ones. Charlotte was signing Gordon Hayward for 4 years, 120 million. That didn't work. I think he ended up getting traded in his final year of his contract. Clippers never developing young perimeter talent.
Okay, that one, they're really trying to reach on that one. You can think of a couple other moves for the Clippers.
They didn't want to discuss the elephant in the room.
Which I think is so stupid for what's ahead of it, but we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah.
Anyway,
let's keep going through this list, and then we can kind of highlight some ones that we had issues with. Oklahoma City, their biggest mistake, according to ESPN, was trading 4 future rotation players after the draft. I think they were just, Emmanuel. Who was it exactly? I'm trying to read here. Good Lord, they have a lot of names.
Jaden Daniels.
Quickly, McDaniels.
Traded those guys for Poku, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then I know they ended up getting rid of Şengün. They had the Şengün pick the year after, and they traded it to Houston for a couple picks.
Which we'll get into. We were just talking about the Clippers, which is hilarious. It ended up not hurting them. And the fact that the Thunder is under the Clippers is kind of funny. Boston trading for Desmond Bane at the time didn't look like that big of an issue. Honestly, the Celtics ended up winning a championship. However, they could have really used a Desmond Bane this year. But
Brock, what would you say is the biggest mistake for Boston Celtics in the past 5 years? If there's one that comes to mind immediately.
See, it's weird because like
it is hard for each because all of our teams are like in good positions or have been in good positions to win or be in a position. But
I know there's one that I'm not thinking about, so I'm like I got to think this through because the first year of the last 5 years would have been 19 or 20. That would have been 20. Yeah. So that would have been Stevens last year as a head coach.
Mm-hmm. I got one for you if you can't think of one.
Not trading Walker maybe would be Kemba Walker towards the ending of his tenure in Boston wasn't as good. I don't know. Dawson, what do you got? Now I'm curious.
Giving up on Nesmith too soon.
That's a good one.
Nesmith turned out to be an extremely valuable player for the Pacers. He started every single game of the playoffs.
Which is funny because at the time it was Boston had too many wing players. And then this year it was Boston didn't have enough wing players.
Well, at the time it was smart because they got Malcolm Brogdon out of the deal.
Yep.
So it made sense for Boston. It's like, we get a veteran point guard that's going to help us out. We're going to ship off Nesmith, one more vet and a first round pick, and we're not going to think about it. It turns out Nesmith would be a playoff caliber rotation guy for the Pacers. So again, Boston won the title, so you can't really critique him too much.
That's what's hard about this is like I really I don't know, signing Daniel Tice every time he got released after trading him, because I swear for like 4 straight years Boston signed him, trade him, he would end up getting cut, and then they would just sign him again. Like, bro, what? Not that was a bad thing, because obviously it led to some moves that ended up benefiting the Boston in the long run. But probably their biggest mistake is potentially not being able to capture Damian Lillard this offseason, just off of what the future could end up bringing to this franchise. But again, Boston's a team similar to the Cavs that you can't really like find a point blank example just because they won a title. Houston Rockets drafting Jalen Green over Evan Mobley, which
Huge move.
That's
Dawson
huge
loves.
much
Absolute
bigger.
nerds for taking Jalen Green.
A couple more draft picks in terms of worst moves. Orlando Magic drafting Jet Howard, which what a move. San Antonio drafting Joshua Primo. Wizards drafting Johnny Davis. Warriors drafting James Wiseman at 17.
Imagine if they would have taken anyone else.
Yeah.
Literally anyone else.
Minnesota, granted, Warriors ended up winning a championship, but it didn't.
But I guess. But could you imagine if they would have taken LaMelo instead?
Don't even put that in the universe. We don't want to have. We don't open Pandora's
or even like
box.
Tyrese, because didn't Tyrese say in an interview that like
he thought he was
Golden
going
State...
there?
Yeah.
I
don't know.
Minnesota trading for D'Angelo Russell, which, I mean, I don't know.
Well, I think that one, why it's so high, is because I think they gave up the picks that became Kuminga, the 7th pick, and they gave up another pick.
Oh,
like a really high pick for Golden State. Because if you remember, D'Lo was on the Warriors.
I forgot who this trade was involving.
Yeah,
the Warriors won the title because of this.
Half a second.
Yeah, the Warriors won the title because of this trade. Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind. Denver not trading for any new players for 2 years after winning the title, which I mean we have pointed that out numerous times. Or not necessarily that, re-signing the core players that helped you win the first title, I feel like should be another thing that they may want to consider, because I feel like there were some players that like played key roles in their run of winning the championship that kind of go under the radar, that they kind of let just go. Similar to the team that's mentioned at number 14, the Lakers. According to ESPN, they said their biggest mistake was losing a 3-and-D player from their championship team. Or players. They lost multiple. Alex Caruso just won a championship with the Thunder. Anthony Davis' run didn't end. Kuzma got traded. Caldwell Pope ended up getting traded. I think wasn't Caldwell Pope and Kuzma both involved in that Westbrook trade as well? So,
yep.
Interesting thing. This one I don't know why it just makes me giggle for some reason. The Pistons at 13, their biggest mistake was hiring Monty Williams in 2023. Okay, at the time, it looked like a great move because he had a 63% win percentage in Phoenix and reached the finals, coach of the year, all this stuff, and then it just didn't work. It just did not work for Detroit at all. It was really bad. After that, Miami trading for Terry Rozier, obviously because of some recent, I guess I don't even know the full details, just recent investigations, I guess, of gambling. I don't know. Do you guys know what exactly it's about, or if we should just kind of move on since it's so early in that process?
Yeah, there hasn't been anything that's been confirmed from it or anything, so I don't think there's any reason to speculate on it right now.
Okay, Toronto Raptors repeatedly trading first-round picks for role players.
Crazy. This one's funny.
Crazy.
2022, they acquired Thaddeus Young.
Big
Johnson, dude.
Hey, one of only players to wake up, brush his teeth, eat a bowl of Fruity Pebbles, take a shower at approximately 9:38, and then average 12 points per game. All right,
what is
the king of advanced statistics right there. Jokic don't have anything on Thad Young.
Okay. They got Malachi. What?
Do you mean this graphic right here?
I probably do. I was wondering with the Pacers that it was
this stupid graphic.
This is the best graphic ever, actually. Yeah.
Players with 800 games, to average 13.5, 5.9 rebounds, 1.4 steals, 49% from the floor, 30% from three. And
That's a big deal, man.
Magic, Larry, Michael, LeBron, and Thaddeus Johnson.
Magic Johnson.
Hey, that's a goat right there. All right, respect.
That's hilarious. He was traded. Joachim Pertl was traded. Obagi and Olynyk were traded, but like, I don't think those were that big of a deal. Brandon Ingram is traded, which, by the way, Brandon Ingram, that pick belongs to the Pacers next year, which I didn't even think about. That could be huge in terms of Indiana's recovery and like future for their roster as they are kind of going through a little bit of I'm assuming what will be a lull season after making the finals. Philadelphia, you can guess what this one's going to be about. Paul George and Joel Embiid being signed to a combined $399 million to the franchise. Chicago Bulls at 9. Their biggest mistake was trading for Nikola Vucevic, which, again, at the time, I thought he was a hot commodity in terms of free agency. If I remember right, a lot of teams were going after him, and him signing with Chicago was like, oh, did Chicago finally make a move? Nope, nothing happened.
Can I go back to Philly for a second? Because I have like 2 more moves that I think
there could be a lot.
I was going to say they're as worse as those. One is signing Al Horford to that humongous contract, and then immediately realizing they screwed up and they traded it, which almost resulted in them losing their first-round pick this year, which then became VJ Edgecombe. And then just every contract they gave Tobias Harris. Like, just name a contract and then just put Tobias Harris right there. So
we love Tobias. But the Bulls, they've made a lot of great decisions too over the last couple of years, or lack of great decisions. Memphis trading for Marcus Smart just didn't work out for them, which, I mean, the fact that this is 8,
it shouldn't be this high. Should not be this high.
It's probably because he only played how many? 38 games? 39?
39 games before he got traded to Washington.
These rankings are hilarious. Atlanta at 7, trading for, or I guess, Atlanta's. This is funny. I misread this the first time, and I guess I just now realized it. 7 and 6 are kind of combined.
This is the DeJounte Murray rank.
Yes. Atlanta and New Orleans are both ranked 7 and 6 because of trading for DeJounte Murray, which is hilarious because another player that at the time when he was traded, huge. Like, he had a lot of untapped potential, it felt like, and nothing came from it. Sacramento having Tyrese and De'Aaron Fox, and then having none of them within 3 years.
So I just realized it's not that big of a thing. They do have them tiered off. So this like top 5. So like they've had it like the first. I think it was like the first 15 or whatever. This is like the top 5 of like this is like the worst thing the franchise has ever done. It alters history.
Yes.
There's 5 different tiers in this.
And I think they're separated by 5, right? Not 5. Every couple.
Not quite, but tier 5 is like small scale problems. Tier 4 is draft disasters. Tier 3 is mid-tier mistakes. Tier 2, which we just wrapped up, is high cost, low reward. And then the tier we're about to start with is franchise altering trades.
Yeah, and the first one was not having Tyrese, Halliburton, and De'Aaron Fox on the Kings, and then within 3 years having neither of them. Which, I mean, hey, they got Sabonis, I guess, and a bunch of old guys on the roster, so good for them. Brooklyn at number 4, trading for James Harden. I was telling you guys beforehand, I feel like just that whole saga of Kyrie, James Harden, and Kevin Durant really could be like it's the biggest, worst move is just pairing all 3 of those up on the same team. At number 3, this one is interesting, and I know we're short on time, so I'll hurry these up, and then I'll let Hunter get to his little rant. Number 3 is Milwaukee trading for Damian Lillard. Obviously, that trade sent Drew Holiday to Portland, which eventually sent him to Boston. Boston won the title. Now Drew Holiday's back in Portland, and Damian Lillard has recently signed with Portland. Phoenix is at number 2, trading for Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal, who are no longer on that team, which if Luka Doncic wasn't traded from Dallas to the Lakers, this would easily be number one. But what are your guys' thoughts on some of these? Are there some, obviously, Hunter's going to get into a little bit of a rant. Just a reminder, we only have about 5 or 6 minutes before we got to get off. But that you think should be higher, lower, or other moves that should be considered?
I think there's a lot on here. And I'll just start with the obvious one. Putting Damian Lillard, trading for him at number 3 is the most atrocious thing I've ever seen. Because I don't care if you want to call it a mistake. Because it didn't result in what they wanted. And therefore, actually, let me take it back. It's not that it's a mistake. It's that it was a shortcoming or just like a failure. All right, if you want to use that word, go for it. I'll disagree with you, but go for it. But to call it a mistake is crazy to me because that implies that what they did and the ranking they have it in changed their franchise. I mean, if they didn't do it, they'd be in a better position. Let me remind everyone out there, Drew Holiday currently is making about $32 million a year now, which he would have probably been making if he were still on the Bucks. The only difference here, he was making $30 million a year, well, just under $30 million a year with the Celtics, when he ended up being a 5th option. Meanwhile, he would be the 2nd option on the Bucks. Let me also remind everyone, in his career with the Milwaukee Bucks, Damian Lillard averaged 25 points per game, basically 7 assists and 4.5 rebounds in 131 games, shooting at, about 36% from deep and 43 from the field. And in the playoffs, averaged 20 points. That mostly having to do with this past year because he just didn't play or was injured. In his first year, when Giannis is out, he averaged 30 a game, 31 a game. And they're going to call this a mistake. I think is outrageous. And once again, I'll just say it. ESPN just wants Giannis out of Milwaukee, so they're just hoping he reads this and goes, oh, I guess since we made the 3rd biggest mistake, I'll leave the state of Wisconsin now. I hate this company so
What would
much.
you put then as what would you
the
put
biggest
as
mistake?
Yeah.
I think if I were to put the biggest mistake on here, I think it honestly would probably be paying Brook Lopez as much as they were, or like retaining to a lot of those guys. I'm fine with like Chris Middleton.
I was going to ask about Kuzma. Yeah, I was going to ask about
getting Kuzma was a big one too because he just is atrocious. But again, I guess their hope there is that he could maybe still do something this year. For some reason, the front office still believes in him. But yeah, I think overall it'd be that or like not. I don't know. That would probably be the Kuzma one would be a big one. Paying Brook Lopez as much as they were. And then, I mean, there's some minor ones, but there's probably bigger, like, actual thing. Those two would probably be a bigger deal than, like, I don't know, signing Semi Ojeleye for whatever they
I
did.
got one for Milwaukee. And Hunter, correct me if I'm wrong on this. Just their entire draft strategy. Really,
John Horst's draft is bad.
These drafts, like, I'm looking at these drafts. These are terrible. Like, they had
do
the RJ Hampton pick, then traded it immediately. Drafted Jordan Nwora. Then following year, drafted Isaiah Todd. I don't know where
Actually,
Isaiah Todd is.
I did think of one. 5 second-round picks for Jay Crowder.
Yeah, that's another one.
That, like, Milwaukee cannot make any trades, basically, because of that trade. Yeah. And Jay Crowder lasted the remainder of that season barely. And
Dawson, is there any, like, changes that you'd make to this list that are, like, at least notable?
I think the Grizzlies are way too high. I don't think
I agree too. Marcus Smart, again, we were just talking about Marcus Smart not necessarily being that valuable of a piece. He's a good addition to a championship contending team, just not a huge asset.
The Lakers need to be a lot higher on this list.
I agree.
Because they really fumbled their chance of winning back-to-back titles, in my opinion. Granted, I know LeBron got hurt in that following season, but I think they fumbled their chance by not signing Caruso and not bringing a guy like Danny Green back. But yeah, those are probably my 2 main takeaways for this list.
Yep. I completely agree with that one. I still can't get over that Oklahoma City is under the draft disasters tier, just given like where they're at right now. Could you
imagine if this team also had Şengün? Because this team drafted Alperen Şengün.
Again, this is like 2K. They're playing 2K. They're playing 2K, and they are at the point of a rebuild where you realize, oh shoot, I have too much in terms of assets, which is like if I don't win, Like I said to a couple people in the last couple years, I'm like, if the Thunder do not win a championship, which they did this year, if they do not win a championship with what they were building, it would be, in my opinion, the greatest disaster in NBA history. Because it was going to be over a long, like, time period versus, like, you know, some of those teams that they just kind of threw together at the last moment, you know, like the Lakers team with Karl Malone and Gary Payton, the Brooklyn Nets team with Paul Pierce, Garnett, Lopez, Darren Williams, the Lakers team with Nash, Kobe, and Howard, like those types of teams where it's like, like at the time it was like, ooh, this could be really, really good, and then they never turned out to be anything. Those were short time periods. We knew that those weren't going to last long. This Thunder one, I was like, if they do not win a championship, again, they won this year. If they did not win a championship with what they had, I didn't think that they were ever going to, like, the biggest fumble in NBA history.
Can I add one more Thunder one?
Yeah.
And you guys are going to hate it, but I don't care. I'm going to just say it now. I'm a forecast in the future, extending Chet Holmgren for the rookie max.
Is it because he can't talk when holding a trophy or something?
Well, it's just they already had to pay Shea, and Shea's going to be the highest paid player in the league, as he should. I get paying J-Dub. J-Dub's well worth it. There's like 20 guys in the league that can replicate what Chet can do, in my opinion. I don't think Chet is that special of a player. Defensively, he's amazing. Offensively, it leaves a lot to be desired, in my opinion. And I just think that contract in 2 or 3 years is really going to haunt them. And maybe it won't affect them because they have all those draft picks. They can just offload the contract. But I think giving that much money to those 3 guys with Chet and J-Dub making the same, I think it's a huge mistake because I think J-Dub's a way better player than Chet.
So that's fair. I mean, it's one of those where, like, I'm not going to definitely jump on that bandwagon now, but I could see that being a thing that could bring them down, especially because, you know, he didn't have an issue this year, but he's had issues of, you know, injuries obviously in the past. And
well, he broke his hip this year. He broke his hip in the regular season. So
I forgot it. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just forecasting and maybe I'm just not a huge Chet guy, but I just don't really see it.
I forgot about the freaking broken hip. He got hurt before he even played his rookie year.
Granted, his first full season, he played 82 games and started every single game. But
yeah, so we'll see. My undiagnosed dyslexia was acting up on there. I mixed up the years. I just want to live in the moment of the Celtics, you know, winning a title season. Never want to. Everything after that is irrelevant. We'll be back next week. Maybe 1-2 episodes. We're definitely going to do the Bleacher Report Top 100 episode. If there's actually news to talk about, we'll do an episode about that as well. Thank you for the support. Make sure to like, subscribe, whatever you can do to help support us. We appreciate it. But until then, for Hunter Rose and Dawson Livingston, I'm Brock Bierman. We're signing off for the week.